told me to do another 99. Let's talk about the first day.
Okay.
The great thing about being president, if you're president, you get to walk in the Oval Office. You should walk in with a big stack of papers about this high, right, called executive orders. See, you don't have to get Congress's permission for nothing if you call it an executive order. So you could say on day one, the U.S. government will purchase no vehicle that has less than 40% 40 mile per hour fuel efficiency starting in 3 months. Done. The United States government, the Pentagon will use 30% renewable energy within the next 18 months. Done. So the reality is that the executive being on the side of the people and on the side of the planet can get a lot of stuff done on the very first day. And there's something called the PCAP, Presidential Climate Action Project, that has already developed a whole series of proposals that he can do literally on the first day. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is, as the sister was pointing out, the last time the government got this messed up, and the people were hurting this much, we had a president, FDR, and he created something called the Civilian Conservation Corps. And the Civilian Conservation Corps put, I don't know if it was millions of people to work, a whole bunch of people to work, dealing with the economic and environmental challenges of that day. They built parks, they built dams, and they put people to work, and they helped to begin to power us through that depression. And we're calling for the next president to do the same thing. We have a proposal. Yeah. We have a proposal, and Center for American Progress, a lot of great groups are working with us on it. We're inspired, frankly, by a lot of the work that Majora has done. And the idea is to create a clean energy corps and literally put millions of people to work retrofitting and repowering America. One thing I want to point out is we're about to go into a very cold winter. The economy is kind of strange, but it could be the prices for home heating will be sky high.
30% is
Could
the
be,
average, yeah.
they're saying 30% higher in this economy. People are going to have to choose between warm meals and warm beds for their children. Now look at that. Meanwhile, you have all these construction workers who are idle. You have all these people who don't have jobs. You have all these veterans who are coming home without work. All these people who need jobs. Why don't we take those folks and give them the opportunity? If you can't build in America for the next 12 months, 24 months, because the economy won't let you, can you rebuild? Can you retrofit millions of homes? So can you weatherize millions of homes? Can you go in and double pane the glass? Can you go in and take out the old boilers, bring in new boilers? Can you blow in clean, non-toxic insulation? Can you begin to bring the energy efficiency of those homes down 30%? Hold people harmless economically. Keep them warm in their homes. Can you bring up their home values? Can you bring down carbon emissions? Because then we don't have to run those power plants that much more. Bring down asthma. Bring up jobs. This is the work that most needs to be done for the earth, for everyday people. Can we connect the people who most need work to the work that most needs to be done? Fight pollution and poverty at the same time and bring our economy back? That's what the president should do in the first 100 days.
And conservation really is our first renewable energy source.
Yes, yes.
Majora, what would you suggest the president do in his first 100 or first day?
Do that for the next 4 years, and we'll be just fine. No, really, that was beautiful, by the way. But just making those connections, that it is a false choice, as you were saying at the beginning. It's people want jobs, and they want to breathe clean air. They want, decent quality of lives. They want, to feel like they're a part of something bigger. I mean, people want an America that's as good as its promise. And you can't have that unless people feel as though they're a part of building something. And that's why the development of the green economy at this particular moment, in the history of this country is so important, because it allows everybody to feel like they're a part of it. And that's why I think it actually did, sprout up, from coal country. I got to tell you, just a little quick story. I was at one of these many, just over the past year, all these different, groups, sort of popped up, around let's work together to deal with, climate change, and, a lot of big enviros, little enviros, whatever were involved. And I sat next to this woman. It was just last year. Didn't really, got to tell you, know much about what was going on in coal country, but I sat next to this woman, and, there was this talk about clean coal, and how, if we figured out, how to sequester, the carbon in it, blah, blah, blah. And I watched this blonde, blue-eyed chick, sit there, and she had the same kind of expression on her face that I would often get when I sat around, tables with policymakers in the city of New York telling me how lucky we should be that they were doing this waterfront revitalization project called a waste transfer station. And she sat there and she was just like, no. This is going to have such a negative impact on the people of my community that there is absolutely no way I could endorse this project. And then it came around to me, and I was sitting, right across from her, and I was like, just what she said. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we sisters, imagine that. And it's true. I mean, I also think that this has a possibility to really connect and cross the kind of barriers that have kept people apart for so long. There is no real America. There is no real fake America. There's one America.
That's right.
And the fact that there are poor folks, poor white folks, feeling the same way that some chick from the black and Latino inner city was feeling the same way, said so much to me, in that moment. And I swear, I think my life was changed as a result of that one little meeting. And I know that we've got the possibility to change everybody's life when we see how connected we all are and how much stronger we'll all be when we recognize that.
I moved from Harlem to the middle of Kansas, and a woman that I met in a low-income agricultural town said, I think there are 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, relate. And I think she summed it up beautifully. Majora, this is another question for you, and then we're going to get out into the audience. This was one that was submitted, and it goes back to the importance of soil.
The importance of what?
Soil.
Soil. Okay.
Soil. Can you address the issue of contaminated soil? In other words, brownfield, open land, and can brownfields be made into community gardens? Can they be made compatible for the communities?
Oh, gosh. I mean, especially when you're going into urban areas.
Will you explain what brownfields is?
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
I didn't. Yeah.
Brownfield, the term brownfield means any land that has either real or perceived contamination. Because whatever it is, whether it's like a former site for a gas station or a place where they may or may not have dumped stuff, you don't know, but you've got to look at it and clean it up in a way that deals with that and to remediate it. Especially in urban areas, where so much of the land had some other kind of really not so nice use on it, they often are the only available land upon which you can do any other kind of positive redevelopment on, which is why it is so important for people, which is why I also think it's a great opportunity for people to really get the proper training and understand how to clean up those contaminated lands safely, to the point where they can be used, for the use that they were intended, or the future intended use rather. And so the development of that kind of expertise within the communities where those brownfields are is super duper duper important. I can't believe I said super duper duper of a large group of people.
Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter. Love it. I love it.
Okay, but it is. It's so true. And getting that kind of training is just because it also can lead to other kind of pathways, up a ladder as well. There's engineering that folks can learn to do, and you move on once they get those early certification programs. And and especially with regard to urban forestry and urban community gardening, it's incredibly helpful. And there's all sorts of really cool things out there, from phytoremediation, where you're actually using other plants to break down the toxins in land. But again, this is a skill that people need to learn. To the idea that you can even use, I'm embarrassed, I can't remember the name, Dr. Carter, the idea of, okay, help me out here. The name of the kind of farming that doesn't use soil.
Aquaculture? Aquaculture?
Not aquaculture.
Permaculture?
Thank you. Hydroponic. Thank you very much.
Take the village.
Thank you. Hydroponic farming. Those are the kind of things that we also can see, but they can also provide great opportunities in our rural areas as well. And so the possibilities are just completely endless.
One of the things, and in case you don't know this, I just need to throw this out, that when we talk about the areas in the country that are most contaminated, when we control for all factors, all our toxins, all our landfills, they end up in communities of color over and over and over again. And both of these people to my right have been fighting for this for decades. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There are microphones in the audience for you somewhere.
So there's some more written questions?
Oh, great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
While we're doing that, I do want to my book has been mentioned a couple of times, and I do want to point out that it's on the... That's my book, thank you. My book is on the New York Times bestseller list now 2 weeks in a row, which is great. The question is, how did it get there? How did it get there? It got there. It got there because not because we had a big advertising budget or because I was on Oprah Winfrey. Though if anybody knows the sister, I'm ready now. It got there because of this movement. When the book came out, we were 3,000 something on Amazon. Check that. We were 3,000 something on Amazon. In other words, we were outselling about 17 books on Earth. Okay, about 17 books. We were right there with them, trying to break out into the high 3,000s. And we sent out emails to our friends and out to grassroots organizations. And we said, there's never been an African American environmental writer ever to be on the New York Times bestseller list. And it's crazy, since we have no budget, nobody knows about this book, but we have this dream that we could actually pull that off, that we could actually propel this book onto that list. So thank you for applauding our dream, but that's also known as insanity. Unless in the real world there are networks and networks and networks of people who already believe, who've already bought in, who already understand we need real solutions. We need to come together. We need to work together. And we calculate that about 6 million emails went out, somewhere between 2 on the low end to 6 on the high end. Million emails went out through these networks. The networks that Bioneers has helped to build up, that One Sky, Apollo, Majora's work, Ra's work, so many people decided to give a little bit of push to this book. And as a result, we didn't get on the bottom of the list. We got to number 12 on the list, and we're still a bestseller 2 weeks later because of this movement. And I want you to understand that a movement that can lift up literature, can lift up laws, can lift up legislators, can make the changes we need to make. So thank you for getting the book up there. But don't make that a thing about me. That's a thing about us, and we're just getting started. So thank you.
So this is where I skip over the question to Van Jones, will you please be our next president? Moving on to the next question. Someone asked, are there opportunities for volunteering or otherwise helping the green movement in the South Coast area, in southern regions? And I think that goes back to the question of this belongs to all of us. What are the resources that are available, whether you're east, west, south, or middle? Throw out some URLs too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep mine brief on that. New Bedford in particular has the opportunity to be the Mecca. You guys can be the manufacturing hub. I know your mayor has been out there fighting. Support him. He's been trying to get some of these big wind companies to come and do manufacturing. I think you guys came in number 3 out of just came short on 1. You've got a bunch of you got your thin film solar happening here. There's a tremendous opportunity for this to be the hub, and also for these young people. We want you to get jobs in green industries. We also want you to give some jobs. We want you to become entrepreneurs, owners, investors. It's about you preparing yourself to power this city back. You used to be the energy capital of the world, but it was based on whaling, killing whales. That's not so nice. So you owe it to the world to then be the solar capital and the wind capital moving forward. So,
Majora, what can we do to bring more people on board? What can we do to bring more people on board?
Show them that the possibilities are here. I mean, New Bedford is a wonderful example. You've got, a group of folks that really are interested in doing it, and that really is your first hurdle. Convincing folks that their self-interest can be met with this. I mean, you've got a mayor, that's understanding of it. And you also, whaling aside, you do have, something that's in the DNA of a lot of great American cities, and New Bedford's one of them. The idea that manufacturing wasn't that long ago.
That's right.
At all. And it's an understanding, an ability to, as Van was saying before, at one point, America was a nation of producers, not just consumers. And we've forgotten that because, cheap Chinese goods are really cheap, but at what cost are they coming?
That's right.
I mean, not just to us, but to China as well. So we really have to stop and think about what kind of future do we want, and where do we play our role? How do we play our role? Not if we will play a role, but what will our role be? And assume that you have one, a very important and critical one.
Okay. First of all, I just want to echo what you just said about China and our sisters and brothers in Asia. I'm very concerned, and Majora and I have talked about this, that there's almost like an anti-China kind of sentiment, an anti-India kind of sentiment. And the green economy is a real answer for that too, because we want India and China's economies to grow. They have people in abject poverty, millions of people, poverty that you would be shocked by. But here's what we don't want. We don't want the only economic answer for our sisters and brothers in India and China, if you're in China, to leave your village, leave your language, leave your culture, cram yourself into a mega city and make crap to send over here. That's not, we love our sisters, we have a better dream than that for our sisters and brothers in Asia. The only people who are benefiting is the export sector in China, and the rest of the country is being sacrificed for that. And the air quality is going down, down, down. The water quality, down, down, down. So what we say is we want a green economy there too. We want people to come out into a green, clean economy powered by clean energy. We want to share answers, share solutions, share technologies. We want to bring our people out of poverty into a green economy and work together and be global partners in achieving that as the leading powers in the world. A green economy is the best answer, not just for America, but for Asia, for the world. So this is a global dream that we have. It's not just a dream for our country. We want our country to be a global partner in solving this for everybody.
I'm doing it. So again, we're out of time, but I'm stretching the boundaries of this. One of the things that we always experience at Bioneers is, I think, a sense of hope. And I'm going to say this is the last question, and if you can also include any final comments you want to make. How old were you? I mean, so many seeds get planted here, and the question is, how old were you when you got interested in the Green Movement, and what inspired you?
I wanted to be the great American filmmaker, but I moved back home.
You want your mic?
Oh, sorry. This is always really bizarre to me because, I don't have a history of activism at all. My dream was to be a great American filmmaker. That was my dream. And fortunately, it didn't work out that way for me. I moved back home and got really involved, in my community's fight to breathe clean air, and also became reacquainted with a place that, I thought really was everything that the media had portrayed it to be, which is why I left in the first place. And it was only when I started to recognize just how the powers that be can use communities that seem powerless on the face to be the repository for things that wealthier communities can afford to avoid. It was only then that I came face to face with who I really was, with my history, with my community, and with the world. Because I realized point blank, if I could be a part of something that brought joy and beauty and health and wholeness to the people in my community who didn't believe that that existed, then I too, in turn, would be healed. And all I could say is the world didn't need a female Spike Lee.
That's great.
Thank you. Van?
Yeah. I'm gonna dodge that question because I don't have a good answer to it, and I just want to underscore some of the things about Majora's story that I just find phenomenal. Majora is one of those people who could do anything, and her choice to go back to what is the poorest congressional district in America. You think, where's the poorest congressional district? Is it Appalachia? Is it Georgia? Is it Mississippi? Is it South Bronx in New York City? And Majora's decision to go back there, where she had seen horrors, and to be a stand for the best possible outcome, is something that should inspire the world. It is inspiring the world. But you think about a Rosa Parks. You think about one woman standing up, well, in her case, sitting down, but taking a stand. Even sisters are bad. They can stand up when they're sitting down. That's bad. If you think about a Rosa Parks, and what one small town, following her lead, Montgomery, was able to do to break the back of Jim Crow, to break the back of U.S. apartheid, and inspire the world, such that now, 50 years later, people around the world, when they get in trouble, they sing "We Shall Overcome" because of that one woman stand for her community. And you think about what is the new century's equivalent of that. You have to look at Majora Carter. And the reason I want that to be said is that Majora says things like green the ghetto first. And I used to just repeat it because it sounds cool. It's a great applause line. But as we begin to look into this whole national weatherization and retrofit campaign, it turns out that the smartest way to do it is to go to the poorest communities where the buildings are the leakiest in terms of energy and people have the least ability to pay. And it turns out that if you retrofit those homes first and weatherize those homes first, you capture tremendous savings for less cost, and you bring down not just those people's energy bills, you bring down the aggregate demand for energy in the whole country and bring down everybody's energy bills. In other words, green the ghetto first turns out to be an economically and ecologically brilliant, genius solution for the entire country. Okay? So you got to understand that when you have somebody who can achieve something against the odds like Majora has done, right? There's genius on top of genius inside of genius there. And I want to point that out because you now are about to take on in New Bedford an incredible series of challenges. And we are lucky in this country that someone like Majora Carter is on the scene and is willing. She's willing to come, to get on planes, to get on trains, and to help people move this country forward. And I just want to say thank you for helping Green for All get started, lending your name, lending your clout, lending your credibility when we didn't have any.
Oh, please.
And thank you for being willing to take your expertise through the Majora Carter Group and give it to the world. If you are here in New Bedford, if you know anybody in the mayor's office, city council, school board, tell them we need a miracle in New Bedford for this country, and you know a miracle maker in Majora Carter.
Thank you, Van. Okay, and to shine the spotlight on Majora just a little bit more.
Yes.
Here's my takeaway also, that this was not part of Majora's plan. And it might not be part of your plan right now either. But it can be. It can be part of your plan, just like it's become part of Van's plan, just like it's become part of so many people's plans all over the country and all over the world. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, Van and Majora! Woo!